look at me. Just look at me. Just look at me. Don't hate, take it up with God. He did it. Just look at me. Just look at me. Just look at me. Don't hate, take it up with God. He did it. Just look at me. Just look at me. Just look at me. Don't hate, take it up with God. He did it. Just look at me. Just look at me. Just look at me. Now stop. Humble is the way. Stay low. The lower you get, the more God's gonna bless you. The lower you get, the more God's gonna bless you. The lower you get, the more God's gonna bless you. Praises go up, the blessings come back down. The lower you get, the more God's gonna bless you. The lower you get, the more God's gonna bless you. The lower you get, the more God's gonna bless you. Step, 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 step up. Back, stand still, matter of fact. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Step up, back, stand still, matter of fact. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Turn it out to the right, clap, clap, step up and watch God. Step back and watch God. Turn it out to the left, clap, clap. It's a new direction with a brand new blessing. Up, back, stand still, matter of fact. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Up, back, stand still, matter of fact. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Turn it out to the right, clap, clap, step up and watch God. Step back and watch God. Turn it out to the left, clap, clap. It's a new direction with a brand new blessing. Up, back. Blessings on blessings on. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Up, back. Blessings on blessings on. Everywhere you look, you got a blessing on the way. Turn it out to the right, clap, clap, step up and watch God. Step back and watch God. Turn it out to the left, clap, clap. It's a new direction with a brand new blessing. There's grace in mercy, and it's chasing me. Look out, there's grace and mercy, and it's chasing me. Look out, there's grace and mercy, and it's chasing me. Look out, there's grace and mercy, and it's chasing me. Oh, it's so crazy how blessed I am. It makes me wanna drop a tear. There's only one way to explain. God wanted me here. All my blessings, they come from you. All these blessings, they come from you. All my blessings, they come from you. I give praises where praises due. It's so crazy how blessed I am. 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 I give praises where praises due.
Gospel 88.7 WEHA. It's more than music. It's ministry.
WEHA, Port Republic, Atlantic City, and now on FM translator 100.3 W262CF, Atlantic City.
Hey, you like football? I know you like football. You're looking for a place to watch the Super Bowl? Well, we got you a place to watch some dark football. WEHA's gonna hook you up because Gospel 88.7 to 100.3 FM WEHA, we have Gospel presents the Sunday Super Bowl Buffet. That's right, it's a buffet going down where you can watch the Super Bowl and eat your favorite foods. It's a large buffet of heavy appetizers and desserts, assorted juices, sodas, punch, and plenty of H2O. It's even going to have some halftime games and giveaways. You know when it's happening, Super Bowl Sunday. That's right, Sunday, February 2nd, 2020. Doors open at 5 p.m. Kickoff is at 6:30 p.m. at the Beacon Hall, 243 St. Louis Avenue, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. Admission is $20 per person, $10 for children 12 and under. And you better RSVP because it's limited seating. You want tickets? Do you want tickets? I said, do you want tickets? The number to call is 609-641-8870. Or you can get your tickets at wehavegospel.com. Super Bowl Sunday, you gotta be at Beacon Hall to see the big game. Of course, we're rooting for the Eagles around here. We're so happy that they got farther than Dallas this year.
WEHA, Christ-centered, community-focused. Deacon William Hawks, President. WEHA is a listener-supported radio station. To make a donation, call Call 609-641-8870. Visit our headquarters at 3 Canal Drive, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, 08234. Or log on to our website, wehavegospel.com.
We have gospel.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. We are live in the studio today, and we have a wonderful program for you on today. This broadcast is being brought to you by the Hawks family businesses who have been serving our community for over 30 years, and Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories. Also, Christ Gospel Church, Bishop Edgar and Vanessa Robinson out of Whitesboro, New Jersey. Thank you so much for sponsoring In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon on today. I'm very, very excited about my new sponsorships and everyone who has been supporting me and WEHA Gospel Radio Station. We have a few things that are going on today. First, I want to say locally, Reverend Griffin, my condolences to him and to his wife Nellie Griffin and the St. Paul's family. They will be having his celebration of life today at the St. Paul AME Church in Pleasantville, where Reverend Deidre C. Bell is the pastor. So we want to keep that family in our prayers. There is a lot of things that are going on, and I want to make sure that you are totally aware of what's happening in our area. Effective immediately on today, Walmart is not open for 24 hours anymore. So if you decided that you couldn't sleep and you wanted to just get up and go to Walmart at 2 in the morning, the doors will be shut. Effective today, they will close at 1 a.m. and open at 6 a.m. in the morning. So they will no longer be a 24-hour Walmart. So we want you to keep that in mind. On tomorrow, we all know that it's the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is tomorrow, and Kansas City Chiefs and the 49ers will be playing on tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to watching that game on tomorrow. Of course, I told y'all last week I'm going for the Kansas City Chiefs, not so much that they're my team, but I want to see Coach Andy Reid get his Super Bowl ring. It's going to be a tough game tomorrow, but whatever you do and whatever team that you're supporting, we want you to just enjoy yourself. And with that being said, come join us for the big game, Gospel WEHA Gospel 88.7, Sunday, February the 2nd. Doors open at 5:30. And the kickoff is at 6:30 p.m. at the Beacon Hall, 243 South St. Louis Avenue in Egg Harbor City. Sunday, Super Bowl buffet, large buffet of heavy appetizers and desserts, assorted juices, sodas, punch, and plenty of H2O. Halftime game and giveaways. It's $20 per person, $10 for children 12 and under RSVP. Limited seating. You can go to get your tickets at www.wehavegospel.com/events. All right, and watch the game on a huge HD screen on tomorrow. So if you're not doing anything, swing on by Beacon Hall and support your favorite two-time Stellar Award winning radio station, WEHA. All right. There's a couple other things that I want to keep everyone informed about that's going on in our community. First, I want to congratulate Council President Judy Ward. She announced her presidency for mayor for the city of Pleasantville. So congratulations, Council President Judy Ward. We want to say that. Also on tomorrow, there will be an official street dedication in the memory of Damon Talley. Damon Talley Drive, and it's going to be at 4:30 tomorrow at Ohio and Baccarat Boulevard in Atlantic City. So we want to keep that in mind. Also coming up on Tuesday, there will be the Twin Poets 2020, Our Voices Matter, and this is going to be held at the Mays Landing Theater at Atlantic Cape Community College in Mays Landing, New Jersey, and this event is free and it is open to the public. On a health tip, why dehydration is making you fat and sick. You can Google that. A lot of people are not, the daily water drinking is insufficient and it's leading to more sicknesses and damages to our bodies. So I want everyone to drink more water in 2020. You can't see your vision if you're not healthy. All right, we're going to be doing a couple of things on today. We want to dedicate a portion of our broadcast to the memory of the late Kobe Bryant and all of the 8 other people who were affected in the horrific, tragic loss of Kobe Bean Bryant. So we're going to play something for you, and then we're going to have a moment of silence, and then I'm going to recognize all of the ones who lost their lives. Listen. It'll be on in a couple minutes. We have something here that I would like as in dedication to all of those who passed away on last Sunday. Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant, John Kerry, and Alyssa Altobelli. Let's listen, and then I'll call back and call the names. Christina Mazer, Sarah Chester, Peyton Chester, and Avia Zobian. And we'll have a few minutes of silence for the memory of all of them. All right, it's been 33 seconds and everybody has been doing the 33 seconds to commemorate Kobe. I didn't realize he'd done as much as he did. And it's such a tragic.
I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. I think that's what greatness is or should be. It's not something I think that's what greatness is or should be. I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. I think that's what greatness is or should be. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. Yeah. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness. There's a quote from one of my English teachers at Lower Merion named Mr. Fisk. He had a great quote that said, "Rest at the end, not in the middle."
Okay. Well, we're having a little technical difficulties here, but wanted to play that speech by him talking about greatness, and the late Dr. Miles Monroe said that your vision should not die with you. If it dies with you, then you failed. You have to be able to leave a legacy and pass the baton for, here we go again. Here, listen to this, Kobe Bryant.
I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. I think that's what greatness is or should be. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. Yeah. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness. There's a quote from one of my English teachers at Lower Merion named Mr. Fisk. He had a great quote that said, "Rest at the end, not in the middle." And that's something I always live by. I'm not going to rest. I'm going to keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going, and I'll figure these things out as I go, right? And you just continue to build that way. So I try to live by that all the time.
And what brings you the most joy right now?
Being with my family.
Really?
That is the most fun. It's just, it's hanging out with them all summer. Being able to like do things that I ordinarily couldn't do, because of training, because of season and stuff like that. So being around them and watching Bianca grow up, because there are a lot of things that I miss with Natalia and Gianna because I was playing. So being there every day with them is so much fun, man. So it brings me the most joy. What does love feel like? Happiness is such a I think I would describe love as happiness. I think I describe it as a beautiful journey. It has its ups and downs, right? Whether it's in marriage or whether it's in a career, things are never perfect. Yeah. But through love, you continue to persevere and you move through them. You move through them. And then through that storm, beautiful sun emerges. Yeah. Right? And inevitably another storm comes. And guess what? You ride that one out too. Yeah. So I think love is a certain determination and persistence to go through the good times and the bad times with the someone or something that you truly love. My parents were great. Growing up, they instilled in me the importance of imagination, of curiosity. And understanding that, okay, if you want to accomplish something, I'm not just going to sit here and say, yes, you can do whatever you want. Yes, you can, but you have to also put in the work to get there. right? So they taught me that at a really early age, man. And when you grow up as a kid thinking that the world is your oyster, and all things are possible if you put in the work to do it, you grow up having that fundamental belief. My mom was there on a daily basis. My father was really influential at a really critical time where I had a summer where I played basketball when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and a very prominent summer league in Philadelphia called the Sunny Hill League. And my father played, my uncle played, and they were like all-time greats and such stuff. And Wilt Chamberlain played in the league, Earl of Pro Monroe played in the league. And here I come playing, and I don't score 1 point the entire summer.
Really?
Not one.
How old were you?
10, 11.
You're playing against other 10, 11-year-olds, or you didn't score once?
Not one.
Were you in the game?
I was in the game.
How'd you not score?
Because I was terrible.
Really?
Yeah. That
10,
happened.
11 years old, you were that
Awful. I mean, and I had these big knee pads on because I was growing really fast. I had the socks all the way up here, and I had like the high top
Skinny,
fades, like skinny as hell. And I scored not a free throw, nothing, not a lucky shot, not a breakaway layup, 0 points. And I remember crying about it and being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, "Listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm going to love you no matter what."
Wow.
Now that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there, I was like, okay, that gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. I have the security there. But to hell with that, I'm scoring 60. Let's go.
Right.
And from there, I just went to work. And I stayed with it, and I kept practicing. When you're in this culture in our society, you can do some phenomenal things individually, but they'll never reach their full potential unless you do them collectively. And you have to figure out how to do that. The challenge for me was always compassion and empathy. I think about 2009, things started changing for me. I started really making a conscious effort to better understand. And that doesn't mean you have compassion and empathy so you go soft on them. It's more like you put yourself to the side and you put yourself in their shoes and understand what they're feeling. And then you have to make certain decisions of, okay, what buttons do I need to push for this player to get them to the next level? So it's not sit around and it's all happy-go-lucky type of thing. Your leader, your job is to get the best out of them, even if they may not like it at that time. One of the things that I had to learn is how to get the best out of my teammates.
Yeah.
And most people think it's a simple thing, pass them the ball. But that's not how you make guys better. You have to really affect their behavior.
How do you do that?
So, I would tell guys, we got back-to-backs. I don't care if we're in Miami, I don't care if we're in a great city of Chicago. You can't go out, we gotta get rest. Right?
Back-to-back games.
Back-to-back games, right? Monday, Tuesday. You play Monday, you play again Tuesday. The guys aren't gonna listen, right? Right. So a few times, say, all right, we'll all go out. We'll go out together.
Really?
I'll drink with you, right? But the next morning, I'm banging on your door at 5 in the morning. Let's go.
They're not getting.
Where are we going? I'll hang out with you. Now you come hang out with me.
Wow.
This is what we do, all right? Let's go. And we're at the gym, we're working out, right? We hit the bus, we go to practice, we play that night.
And they're dead.
And they're like, oh, lesson learned.
Really?
Lesson learned.
So take them out once.
Listen, if you're gonna do that. But don't let that compromise what we're here to do.
Right.
This is why we're here. This is why you're here in the first place.
But what does losing feel like to you?
It's exciting.
Why is it exciting?
Because it means you have different ways to get better. There's certain things that you can figure out that you can take advantage of, right? Certain weaknesses that were exposed that you need to shore up, right? So it was exciting. I mean, it sucks to lose,
Right.
but at the same time, there are answers there if you just look at them. I'll give you an example. So Katie Lou Samuelson is one of the best college basketball players in the country. She plays at UConn. She's going to be a senior. And they just had a really tough season last year where they lost to Notre Dame in the final. And so I asked her, I said, have you watched the Notre Dame game? She was like, no. I said, well, why not? I said, I don't want to watch that. I said, I know you don't, but you're going to play Notre Dame this year, yeah? Yeah. What's the chances you see him again in the final? Goes, well, you'll probably see him again. I said, well, you can't show up and play them without knowing why you lost that one, right? So, the mistakes that you've made in that game, you have to do the hard stuff and watch that game and study that game to not make those mistakes over and over again just because you weren't brave enough to face it. So she came down to the office. I brought her down to the office and we sat down, we watched that game together.
Wow.
Right? And you gotta deal with
Face it.
Gotta deal with it. Face it, learn from it. When you play for 20 years, I played for 20 years, you reach a certain level, you're like, okay, wait a minute, I have to start again at the base of a mountain and try to climb to the top of this mountain. First of all, what mountain am I climbing? I don't even know, like, what the hell am I going to be doing? And it's very scary. It's very scary.
Even for you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing that helped me actually was hurting my Achilles, because that forced me to sit there and say, okay, the day could be today that your career is over. Now what do? You have these ideas about doing something with your life after basketball, but what if today is the day that's it? Now what do? So I had all this time sitting there with my Achilles injury and contemplating and thinking, and I said, I better get to work.
Wow.
That was that. The mentality book is really about process and craft. I've broken the book up into 2 sections. And process is really about the process of preparing, through injury, recovery, studying of the game. And then the craft is the actual performance and the tactics. And so a lot of things that I learned through the game were through photos. You can look at a photo and see like a player making a move, or look at the angle of his feet, look how he's using his hands on defense, and I can really break down things to the smallest detail through that. And that's what you'll see in this book. I mean, it's really a basketball Bible. You'll see how I break things down, like how I'm looking at things to the smallest of detail.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to understand how to have that kind of mentality, is to ask questions and then find answers. And then that lead to more questions and you find more answers. And that's what the book is. So how can we teach our children what it means to work hard? Well, you do it through training, right? So when I get up in the morning, my daughter goes with me.
4 a.m.?
4 a.m. My 15-year-old goes with me. She goes with me before school, and it becomes a daddy-daughter thing.
That's cool.
She just got a permit, right? So she drives in the morning. It becomes a cool thing, right? But through that process, she understands the value of hard work and things taking time. And the same thing with my 12-year-old, right? She practices every day, right? And so it's through those behaviors is where I find the motivation to do it.
Well, that was a piece from the late Kobe Bean Bryant, and I hope that you enjoyed that piece. A lot of wisdom in that speech. He done a lot in his lifetime until he was 41 years old. So God bless his legacy and his family and all of those that were affected in the horrific tragedy. Here are a couple of sayings. One is, I have nothing in common with lazy people who blame others for their lack of success. Great things come from hard work and perseverance. No excuses. No excuses. So again, I want to extend my condolences to everyone who's lost someone, and to all of the people who are very accomplished people. And I wanted to spend a few minutes of my broadcast talking about that and recognizing the great job and the great legacy left by Kobe Bean Bryant. All right. And although he was living on the West Coast, he was really an East Coast guy. Right. And we really, we're going to miss him and his family. And his daughter, Gianna. And again, the coach, John Altobelli, and his wife, Carrie, and the daughter, Alyssa, Christina, Maza, Sarah, Chester, Peyton Chester, and Aviva Zobian. So those were all of those that were lost, and I think people kind of got caught up and kind of forgot that there were other people that was a part of the tragedy. But again, we're going to move from this after our broadcast. After we have a break. And then we're going to be talking about other things. Jared Thomas is going to be coming on And there's a lot of other information that I really want to discuss, the things, the do's and the don'ts in media, social media, and what's going on in the political climate and in our nation, locally, nationally, and things that we need to be aware of. Now, our caucuses, they start today. And so the voting process is in place for getting ready for the presidential election that is coming up. And if you're not registered to vote, I encourage you on today to go out and register. If you receive a census, fill out the census. A lot of funding depends on paperwork. You got to do your paperwork. And in order to keep the funding and some of the things that you have in your local municipality is based on the numbers that you have in your municipality. So if you don't fill out the census, then money is deducted from your municipality, and programs and things that would be available to you, and monies for roads and all type of things will not be available because you didn't take the time to fill out the census. So along with your voting, if you moved, you got to go register. You got to change, not register, you got to change your address. Change your address so you will be able to vote in the primary, which is June the 2nd here in New Jersey. They're talking about changing it, to May. But to me, if it's not changed to like February or March, a couple of weeks is not really going to make a difference. But that's my personal opinion. But if you're out there and you're not registered, there's over 250,000 people, maybe about 275,000 people who live in Atlantic County, 21 municipalities, and only maybe about 175,000 are registered to vote. And it doesn't matter to me, how you register to vote. You just need to be registered, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever the case may be. You need to be able to vote. You need to be able to be registered so you can exercise a right that you do have. And many people died, for people to have the right to vote. They made a lot of sacrifices for it. So as a result, I signed up as soon as I could. When I graduated high school and turned 18, the next thing I did was register to vote. And I still have the letter from retired Judge Stephen Persky. He was an assemblyman who wrote me and thanked me for registering. I still have it. I still have that. So if you're not registered, please go out and register to vote. You can go online. You can. There's so many different ways that you can do. You can go in person. You can get an application sent to you. You can see someone at Walmart or ShopRite and just sign up and be registered to vote. We're getting ready for a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Appreciate your continued support over the last 10 years. Thanks to all of you, WEHA is now a 2-time Stellar Award-winning gospel radio station with a recording studio right here in your local community. As the newly appointed General Sales Manager, it is my goal to share my 20 years of experience in broadcasting and marketing with your church, business, or organization. I am pleased to announce WEHA's new community branding partnerships, where you have the opportunity to be heard on all of WEHA's platforms, including 2 FM bands, WEHA WeHaveGospel.com, and all of WEHA's social media pages, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. WEHA is currently seeking new Sunday morning programming and new talk shows. For more information or to arrange a WEHA studio tour, you can reach me, Lisa Diane Hall, at WEHA Studios at 609-641-8870. That's 609-641-8870. WEHA is Christ-centered, community-focused, and listener-supported.
sensory sensitivity, repetitious behavior, lack of eye contact. You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Hello, I'm George Sick.
Hi, I'm Professor J.
You know why I like listening to gospel on the radio? It's easy. You turn it on, turn up the volume, and you have gospel.
Listening in the car is cool, I guess, but I'm more into listening from my computer. I just type in the website, and I have gospel.
So whether you listen to gospel on the radio, on 88.7 FM, WEHA,
or on your computer on www.wehavegospel.com.
We have gospel.
So check out our new website, wehavegospel.com.
Wake up to morning glory with gospel duo Duncan and Rachel.
Every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on WEHA 88.7 and 100.3 FM.
And the King of Glory shall come in.
If you just tuned in, you listen to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. This broadcast has been brought to you by the Holtz family businesses who have been serving our community for over 30 years. And Beacon Hall, turning moments into memories. And Christ Gospel Church, Bishop Edgar Robinson and First Lady Vanessa Robinson of Whitesboro, New Jersey. Thank you so much for sponsoring In the Community with Dr. Thelma. I really appreciate all of the support that I have been receiving from all of you and the support that you have been giving to this station in our 8 for 88 campaign, for the events that we have, and how you just come out and support us. You pray for us, you give us donations, and we really appreciate that. And I'm just requesting you to continue to do that, to continue to pray for our station and donate to our station, 2-time Stellar Award winning radio station, Gospel, WEHA Gospel, 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. So we're going to be talking about a whole lot of things on today. And we're going to continue in our broadcast on today. And Jared Thomas, who works here as a tech guy, he's savvy, he's a millennial, he's on point. And so we're going to continue in our conversation on today, the do's and the don'ts of things that you should do, things you shouldn't do on social media, and period. Things you shouldn't do, period. I can't imagine the late Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa, watching television and then see on television that her late husband and daughter died tragically in an accident, in a helicopter crash. Not a phone call from anyone before they could get the information out or get to the family. TMZ already had it out. And that's how she found out. And that's how the family members found out. That is so distasteful and disgrace. It's a disgrace. The police out there did, I don't want to say rebuke them, but they gave them a little tongue lashing. But can you imagine that? You're on home watching TV, drinking a cup of coffee or some hot tea like I love, and then see something like that. That's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. So those are things that you should not do. Now I have to admit, on Facebook, sometimes you see something and then when you see it, you tag it. Yeah, you tag it, and then and you shouldn't do that. So we're so glad to have Jared Thomas on, and he's my millennial person that I go to when I need to know information, because I know he's going to help me get it right. I am a baby boomer at the end of the baby boomers, but I'm willing to learn, and you got to be willing to change and learn. Hello, Jared.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
I can. Yes, I can hear you, and yeah, I can hear you. Thank you for calling in on the show.
Excellent, anytime.
And I want to talk about the do's and don'ts of social media, because a lot of people really, they just don't know. They just don't know.
Yeah, social media is one of those things that has grown at such a pace that it's been really hard for people to catch up and really know what to do and what not to do on social media. I think the biggest thing that I've seen a lot of people doing is if you've grown up with the 24-hour news cycle, as many baby boomers have, you're used to watching a product that has been produced, curated, and checked for inconsistency. So when you're watching TV, even though you can't trust everything you see on TV and there is fake news out there, generally the people who are talking on TV want to make sure that they're not reporting completely inaccurate information. The internet's a little bit different. Never trust anything that you've only seen once. The first time you see something on the internet, you should be doing research as to whether it's true or false. I like to use Snoops to fact check things, but there are many of other fact checker websites out there. Anytime you see a celebrity death, anytime you see that someone's giving away money, anytime you see something about viral outbreaks, or just any type of news, you want to fact check it.
So you need to fact check it on Snoops, you said?
That's the one that I like to use, but there are plenty of other resources. Pretty much, like, let's say that you saw an article saying that Betty White had passed away. She hasn't, by the way. I just want to make sure that everyone knows that she's doing fine. But if you see that article, you might want to Google, is Betty White alive? Did Betty White pass away? And then you'll be able to see it from more news sources. So if you can find it from several reputable news sources, then you know that it's true, or that it's more likely to be true.
Right.
But you never want to just go with the first source you see, especially since there are a lot of tabloid journalism posts out there, and there are lots of actually websites that just make fake stories just so that they get shared, just so they're ironic. For instance, the Babylonian Bee, for example, is a satirical news journal that often posts controversial topics that really aren't even real things that are going on, but they post them for satire. But what I find is often people will reshare these things not knowing that they are satire or that they are jokes.
Absolutely. So so we wanted to make sure that El Presidente just walked in on the door, so I'm really excited about that. This got souped up about that, and we're talking about a couple of things that we shouldn't do, and we're having some words from him in a few minutes. Now, so you should check out your information. Don't post the first thing that you see on Facebook, because it may or may not be true.
Yeah, always fact check.
Fact check it, Google it, and make sure before you post it. Now, I have to submit to you, I have done things like, if you saw the death of a person and I just clicked it because it was on social media, I felt it was true, and it wasn't true at all. So I do like the fact that you should fact check. The other thing that I would like to suggest is that if you know of a person whose family member has passed away, you will wait until the family posts something before you put it out.
100%.
I think that people are well-meaning, but the family hasn't even made an official announcement, and everybody is out there posting stuff, rest in peace or rest in heaven or all that kind of stuff. And the family hasn't posted it. What if the family members don't know? What if all the family members don't know about it?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I've noticed is that we have a lot of great journalists in this area, and that often the journalists who are posting about about local events, whether it's Shore News or Breaking AC, they're very respectful of not saying the names right away. But then what will happen is that someone in the comment section will put 2 and 2 together, and then they'll start actually utilizing the names that the news source has purposely left out for this reason. So for that, I always, like, whenever I see that someone's passed away and I know who it is just from reading the article, I don't ever drop the name in there like, oh my goodness, this family, blah, blah, blah. I see the news article, and if the family starts to write about it, I'll give my condolences there. But we don't need to be independent journalists who need to report on everything just because we know everything. It's always about knowing when and where to post things.
Absolutely. And the other thing I want you to talk about, if you are on social media and you got everything in capital letters, people think that you're screaming at them.
Yes, a lot of people, and of course, this is not targeted towards anyone. A lot of people do write in all caps a lot, and they write in all caps because it looks better on a poster. And when you're used to traditional media, you put things in all caps on posters and everything. But a poster is different than a post. On the internet and through text, there are certain things that you do to convey your tone. So, for instance, if you want to yell something, you want to use all caps. If you want to convey an emotion with what you're saying, you might add an emoji or a picture or a GIF or GIF, whichever one you want to, or GIF, however you want to pronounce it. Anyway, you want to add something so people can know what you're saying. Mm-hmm. But if I write on Facebook, I had a great day, but I put it all caps, it's I had a great day, and you don't want to sound like that on social media. Now, you might want to use caps selectively. Like, for instance, if I were to say enough is enough and put like the enoughs in capitalized and then write my point, then it's just, you're just putting emphasis on that word. But we really do want to try to avoid making our entire post in all caps, because then it loses its meaning, really.
All right. Are there any other things for etiquette? Since we have the president here, I'm going to have to close that portion out and bring him in because he has his headphones on. But for social media etiquette, where should people go?
There's one more thing. So we talked about fact checking. We talked about making sure that we're writing our stuff correctly.
Right.
The other thing, and this is for everyone from 13 to 83, everyone who's on social media, when you are writing a post about someone else or taking a picture of someone else,
right,
or videoing in a public area, make sure that the people want to be on your Facebook or want that image posted.
That's true.
When you take someone's private image, private thought, or private words and put it on the internet, you're making it a public thing. So make sure that if you have a camera out, you say, hey, does everyone mind if I post this on Facebook? Or, hey, can I get a picture? Or Facebook or Instagram, whatever social media you want to use. This is very important because once something is on the internet, it is on the internet.
That's true.
Even if you delete it, someone else could have easily copied it or screenshot it. And too often our private lives are becoming public discussion, and we always want to make sure that we're being careful of that.
You know what? That is so true, because there's ways you can take people out of the picture if you just want to post your own self.
You can crop the photo. You can ask them to move away. You can change the direction of the camera.
Exactly.
Whenever I'm taking a photo, I like to know who's in the background of the photo and try to make sure that I'm not doing anything where someone is there and they don't want to be seen.
That's good. And last but not least, people that write like a whole story on social media. I mean, there's pages and pages of stuff. It's too much. I don't understand why people do that.
Well, it really depends on what the context is. So with that, your Facebook, I would suggest that you don't use more than 250 characters to convey your message.
Okay.
And if you do need more than that, you make it into separate posts, maybe include an image to, make it a little bit more palatable. But you do have other places to write these long messages. That's what a blog is for.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's
So
what a blog is
definitely,
for.
I would suggest starting a blog if you're someone who is extremely verbose and wants to write a 1,000 character message. I would definitely suggest writing a blog, and you can share it with people who are interested in reading it. But when people are going down their timeline, they really don't want to see more than 250 characters. That's like a small paragraph, really.
Well, thank you so very much for calling in, and we'll discuss politics at another time. But I thank you for calling in with the etiquette for social media and things that we should and should not do.
Oh, there's one more very important thing for social media etiquette. Everyone who's listening right now should definitely share wehavegospel.com/events so that everyone knows to buy tickets for our Super Bowl buffet that's happening tomorrow.
I love the way you done that. You the best that ever did it. Thanks for calling in, Jared. All right, bye-bye.
All right, you have a blessed day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jared Thomas giving us the etiquette, the do's and don'ts of social media and things that we should and should not do. And we have right in the studio who surprised me, the owner of WEHA, Deacon William Hawks, El Presidente.
Good morning, Dr. Thelma.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Actually, I was just coming to drop something off, and you beckoned me to sit down.
I did.
And but it's always good. We normally get together right at the first of the year.
True.
But I had been going through a couple of health challenges, and I haven't really been out and about. But God is faithful, and I just thank God for being here now. And I have like one or two more things I got to do, and then I'm going to head back home and put my foot up. But the commentary by Professor J, very informative.
Absolutely.
Because I just got on Facebook last September. And, I don't understand all of that, the etiquette. I'm one that types in caps. And I got called out on that a couple of times, but I actually type in caps most of the time because of my eyes.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like, but I had somebody literally say, are you screaming at me? And
right.
I'm like, no, I'm not screaming at you. That was the first time I ever heard that.
Yeah, you didn't know.
That was a few months ago, too.
But you know what really made me do it, wanted to talk about it after we had done a tribute to the late Kobe Bryant, was that his wife didn't even know that he had passed away.
Yeah, that's right.
TMZ put it out.
That's right.
And so a lot of times on social media, people put stuff out and all the family members don't even know nothing about it.
That's exactly right.
You have to wait until the family is ready to put something out, then you send your condolences.
Me and I was home and Sunday, and Elder Goddard, he came to check on me after church. And so we're sitting there and everything, and he just happened to be scrolling on his device, and he saw TMZ, and it said Kobe Bryant, had perished in a helicopter accident and all of that. So we were sitting there amongst ourselves, and I had the TV on, and I just automatically, both of us just chalked it off as fake news, just that quick. And as soon as that came out of our mouth, the TV came on and said, we interrupted broadcasting for a special report. And then after it ended up being confirmed. But you're absolutely right. It's really heartless that that media today can be so callous.
Right, and we want to be good. Listen, we've been talking about Kobe for a little minute, and but I am glad that you're here because the WEHA is going back to the Stellars.
Yes.
Yeah, we were nominated.
Yep.
Again for
5.
5.
So now this is our 6th nomination.
6th nomination.
And hopefully we'll be bringing home the 3rd statue
right
of the Stella Award.
Right. Now, I don't know what they base it on. I really don't.
Well, there is a criteria, and a lot of people don't know. At least 75% of your programming has to be gospel. Which we indeed fit that criteria. And then a certain portion has to be public service size, community, things of that nature. So it's not like so specific to tell you what to do.
Right.
It just kind of tells you in the realm that you have to do it. And to God be the glory, for 10 years we fit all the criteria to even be able to get nominated. So the sixth nomination, we have 5 plaques on the wall now saying 5 nominations, and now we'll have a 6th plaque coming, whether we win or not. But if we win, then we'll get a plaque for the nomination and then a statue, a 3rd statue for bringing it home. So pray for us. We go in, what is it, April?
The end of March?
March, somewhere around there.
Yeah, the end of March. Yeah. It's in Las Vegas again.
It's in Vegas again.
It's in Vegas again. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going, but I think I might want to go to this.
Yeah, you would.
I might want to go.
Yeah, I would love for you to be there.
See, it's nothing like seeing the radio station, seeing you and they laying up on the stage.
Yeah, sure.
The names are being called in front of all of those people. It's huge. People may not realize it, but it's huge. This is nationwide. This is
nationwide, Dr. Thelma, and it's a validation of sorts that indeed you're relevant, because a lot of times people think you're just passing the time with your perspective, with your respective craft or vocation or whatever you do, but people don't know the hard work and the due diligence that has to go into everything that you do, and then when it's garnered with something, from, acknowledgement and, accolade or whatever, it is huge, you know what I mean? It's encouraging for all of us, yourself included, the community, to saying, wait a minute, they're doing something.
Absolutely. Listen, when I reported last week on Dr. Aldalyn Cruz, who's in Puerto Rico, and then the press came out with an article that they were sending the team, I knew that we were on the right track of making sure, because we have a lot of Latinos who live in our community.
That's right.
They have a lot of family members in Puerto Rico. They want to know what's going on. And so I said, we don't have any television stations, but WEHA is a conduit to all of the things that are going on and has afforded many of us opportunities to put out information, and I thank you for allowing me to have this time to come on and to talk. I look forward to it. Like when I found out that Walmart wasn't open for 24 hours.
Yeah, I just heard that.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta tell the listening audience this tomorrow, just in case they don't know. It's not open. They're closing down. Well, they're not closing down, but they're not open at 24 hours anymore.
Well, I want to say, and I know your show is about to close out. I'm good, though. We're good. I just sat down, and I can't move as quick these days, so you don't have to rush on my account. But anyway.
Now I got to get my hair done.
Hey, look, you got to keep your... Now, and it's crazy. I just came from the barbershop.
Oh, okay.
So we got to keep our priorities in order. But I wanted to say I thank you. You often talk about the opportunity that me and my wife gave you, but I thank you for even taking advantage of that opportunity and putting your heart and soul in it. That's when you can tell the true telltale of a person's commitment, is when you see how hard they're working and how dedicated they are, how passionate they are, and you kind of run the gamut, because you don't just deal with politics, you don't just deal with one spectrum of the community, you're everywhere.
That's true.
And we couldn't have 10 years ago, we couldn't have picked a better candidate for somebody to host our premier community show than Dr. Thelma Witherspoon. And we appreciate you so much. You're just your family. And once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is it official yet?
February 16th will be the actual installation.
Right. Now, are you letting your listeners know? I I know you're kind of like me. I'll tell them, okay? You're kind of like me. I understand. I'll say it. Dr. Thelma will be elevated, if you will, to be the official installed pastor of the Westminster Christian Fellowship Church in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where her father is the founder and presiding bishop, Bishop Dr. Luke Witherspoon, and her mother, Pastor Juanita Witherspoon. They have groomed her down through the years. First of all, she's saved and she has the Holy Ghost. And also, they've groomed her for such a time as this. So on behalf of me, my wife, WEHA, we want you to go ahead and let the Lord use you. And as you often say when you introduce preachers, you say, preach to God, preach the word, tell the story.
Yeah, I got that from my dad.
Yeah, so now I'm telling you that.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right. Don't forget the Super Bowl.
Yeah, don't forget the Super Bowl. So I was getting ready to ask you, what do you want to leave with the listeners? Let's talk about the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, real quick. You can pay at the door now. I know everybody don't go online and buy tickets and all that. I'm one of those people. If I had to only buy online, I probably wouldn't be there. But for those that don't go online, come to the door, 243 St. Louis Avenue. It actually starts at 5 o'clock.
Oh.
The Super Bowl starts at 6:30.
Okay.
But we're starting at 5 o'clock because we're gonna have plenty of food there and all of that good stuff, fellowship and all of that, and everybody can just kind of make themselves comfortable. It's going to be at the Beacon Hall, 243 St. Louis Avenue, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. The tickets are $20. I believe 12 and under is $10.
Right.
Come on out. Don't worry about cooking and all of that. We're going to have some good food there. And
y'all do have good food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to have some good food now.
Y'all do have good, and plenty of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We're gonna have some good food. Feed me.
Yeah.
I want no more.
I went last year. Last year was the first one?
Yeah, that was the first one.
I went last year, and it was very, very nice.
Yeah, and it's a fundraiser, so we definitely need people to come out there and support for the radio station, and you'll enjoy yourself.
Yeah, now I'm going to slide by after, Bishop Parrish is having a big...
I'm going there first.
Yeah.
Bishop Parrish, our good friend.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, longtime supporter.
Him and Lady Parrish, both of them.
Him and Lady Parrish, they're having their thing tomorrow at Mays Landing Country Club, and I was invited to that. So I'm definitely going to go there first.
And then slide out.
And then go out there. But I'm not supposed to lift anything anyway.
Right.
So I won't be doing much. But so I can go, and I don't have to worry about Elaine. Lady Praise, she'll have it covered, her and her team.
Absolutely, and it's going to be wonderful. So again, I'm excited about WEHA and everything they're doing. Don't forget our 8 for 88 campaign, and don't forget to continue to pray for WEHA.
Yeah, please.
Pray for the owners, pray for the station, pray for me.
Yes.
Did you enjoy our program today? I know you did. Thanks for tuning in to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, 2-time Stellar Award-winning radio station, WEHA 88.7, 100.3 FM. We have gospel. Keep those dials locked to WEHA.